Hello, and welcome to reCapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at reCapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Hello, Ashley.
Hello, darling.
Have you ever been to Mississippi?
You know what? I don't think so. I think that's still on my to-dos for these United States.
My grandmother's from Mississippi, and we visited one good time when I was younger, and she showed me where her family lives, and it was a lot of dirt roads, and it looked like a shack. It's just crazy. It's like you're in a whole different world in some ways. But mind you, my grandmother is the same age as Martin Luther King. So,
different time
ago. Yeah. But we are headed to Clarksdale, Mississippi, because we're recapping Sinners. It is a 2-hour and 17-minute our horror Southern Gothic musical hybrid. It was released April of this year, April 18th. And here's a quick summary. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. Here is the stellar cast. We have Michael B. Jordan. He is officially Michael Bay again. You remember there was a time where we kind of dropped the Bay?
I think you were still calling him Michael Bay.
Oh, no, I dropped it for a while. But we're back at Bay because he played 2 roles in this movie. Elijah, quote, Smoke and Elias Stack.
I never knew their first names.
No?
No.
Oh, that's funny. Haley Steinfeld is Mary. Miles Canton as Sammy or Preacher Boy Moore. Jack O'Connell as Remick. Wumi Masakyu as Annie. Jamie Lawson as Perline. Omar Benson Miller as Cornbread. Lee Jun Lee as Grace Child. And the great Delroy Lindo as Delta Slim. This film was directed by the great, because sir, the number of billion-dollar movies he has under his belt, and he's not even 40. People need to stress this enough. Did you understand how crazy that is?
Yeah, I think we all do. And I think if his skin were another complexion, he would be
the Wonder
more.
Boy. Yeah. He would be the Wonder Boy of Hollywood. Hollywood has prompted unproven directors more than what I'm seeing for Mr. Coogler here. You know what I mean? You remember Cats? They gave it to this young white director. The movie was unfinished when it made it to the theaters. No one talks about that. I wonder if he's gotten another chance. What is this man's name? Because now I'm curious. Tom Hopper. Are you doing anything else? I don't see anything. Anyway, let's talk about the great Ryan Coogler. Writer, producer, director. What I love about this is that he called this grilled cheese because he wanted to make something, cheap. The fact that this movie was cheap for him also cracked me up because it says a lot about the budgets that he's been responsible for.
Honey, the budgets. We talking about them Disney dollars, that Marvel money.
Exactly. And he wanted something quick but delicious, like,
And
but real
also
good.
a closed story, a finished story.
Yes. Yes.
We
There's
got you got just
no,
the one.
exactly. And honestly, he doesn't need any more. Because this
No.
this was well made. Looking at Rotten Tomatoes, 97% critics, 96% audience scores. Google users gave this film 85%. I don't know what they were watching, Ashley. And then really quick with the producer, his wife is also a producer on this show. So yes, family wealth, building wealth. And that's what I love about it. We'll get into it, but it's like this is his IP. Like, yes, Black Panther, yes, 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 but he owns all of this.
Indeed. And signed a legendary deal for it.
He sure did.
And shout out to Hannah Beekler.
Shout out to Hannah Beekler, friend of the pod. We just saw her literally a couple of weeks ago. The great Ruth E. Corder. And then shout out to the composer. This man's name is Ludwig Göransson. I've been a fan of his music with Ryan's team. That blows my mind is the fact that they've been able to be so diverse in their abilities to go all the way from Creed to Wakanda to bluesy Jim Crow South. Like, talent.
Hannah was going taking dirt, putting it in her purse.
Yes, because she
said,
needed to remember that color.
This is different. I need this dirt. Yeah.
Ashley, what's your grade for Sinners?
I got to give it an A, you know, as much as it terrified me, as much as I had bubble guts when I watched it the first time, so nervous about what was going to happen, not knowing who would survive and what I was in for. Have to give it an A. It was captivating. Michael B. Jordan was insane as two twins. And you know, I
forgot
cannot
it was he played two roles. Like,
I
they were
cannot
different
say
people.
enough about how much he blew me away with the portrayal of Smoke and Stack in this film. Blew me away. I was so emotionally attached to both of them for very different reasons and
Yes.
feelings towards them.
Yes.
And that's unbelievable, right? I mean, the everything about this was enthralling and riveting and terrifying, which I think was the point.
Absolutely. It's an A for me, dog. This movie was worth going to the theaters. I did not go multiple times, but I did contemplate it because it's like, I want to experience this again. It had a huge run in theaters because it was in IMAX, and I thought it was absolutely worth it. The performances, everything about this movie, the sounds, the music, the look, the colors, everything, it just it's just done so well. And it's like, shout out to the technology that made you forget that Michael B. Jordan is one person playing two people. You know what I mean? For me, he turned back to Bay just because he's no longer just a pretty face. Like, this man can act. And I have enjoyed the evolution of his acting career. This is some of his best acting ever to date.
It is the best.
It's the best. And
down.
like, we've said this in conversation, but this is canon. Like, this is going down into, like, have you seen Sinners? Do you understand these references? Like, because if you don't, you are sorely behind. The introduction of Miles, that young man, and that voice. I know I sound like somebody's auntie, which I am. Shout out to my nieces and nephew. But what a wonderful debut for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ms. Haley, her lines were wild, Ashley, and I cackled. A time was had, and in Woomy was the soul. Oh, I loved it.
I love how stark we get with the women that we get to have as our leading ladies too, like the representation.
Yeah.
It's stark.
That is so true. That's so true. All right, Ashley, let's go ahead and get into our spoiler alert. I love it when a movie starts and it gives you like the lore of the world that you're about to enter. So you have this narration from Annie letting you know about piercing the veil of life and death, and each culture has its own name for it. It really essentially talks about like your gift can attract both good and evil. It kind of makes you scared sometimes,
Yeah.
though, right?
Give you some chills a little bit. Yeah.
And then we go straight into Clarksdale, Mississippi, October 16th, 1962. Ashley, when I was watching this the other day, I was like, oh my God.
Not to freak us out or anything, but this podcast just might drop October 16th.
I know. That had me cackling. And we get a distraught as light work to describe how Sammy shows up to this church. And I'm telling you, this is actually the most scary I felt of the film was the flashes that we got as he walked into that church.
Girl, those initial jump scares scared the fuck out of me.
Girl, I was like, we just started.
Yeah. I was like, again, I had bubble guts, y'all. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to be able to know what's gonna happen. If I had watched this for the first time at home, I would have fast forwarded through to try to see what was gonna happen, then gone back to the beginning to watch it again. I can't do that in the theater. I have to sit there and just be ill trying to see what's gonna happen. So I was a mess. A mess.
Actually, those took me out in the theater.
I was a mess. I was like, ah! Thank God we were in the back. I was probably farting. Who knows? I was in the back.
But it's giving prodigal son, right? His dad, who's the preacher, was like, put down the guitar, put down the guitar. And then we go to one day earlier. I think it's fascinating having rewatched this movie that this all happened in one day.
Yeah, the time is crazy.
Crazy, because a lot happened in that freaking day.
Ooh,
we see that Sammy is the dutiful son. He picks cotton, he get his quota done ahead of time to be able to live some of his life. I thought it was really interesting because my grandmother actually picked cotton in Mississippi as a young person. And I'm just like, whew, we're not far removed. Like, you know what I mean?
They trying to take us back, if anything. But the heat is what I kept thinking about. Like the actors themselves were in the heat.
Yes, they were.
Making this film.
Yes, they were. But again, you could tell he loved his family. He was a responsible son. But he has these two cousins, Ashley. We have the Smokestack twins. They have been gone for 7 years. The last place that everyone knew they were at was Chicago. And they came back with a whole lot of money, Ashley, ready to buy this piece of a building by these white folks. They were turning it into a juke joint. I have to ask this very serious question, Ashley. Who can get it? Smoke or
given that they're twins, I would say they both could, obviously.
No, both of those personalities don't go.
Yeah, but sometimes that don't. I mean, sometimes you ain't even thinking about all that. You just,
oh my God,
you just seeing them, and you like, all right, you know, where we at tonight? You know, who's single? Who's available? But no, in terms of personality, I would say it's tough because I could go either way with my taste. I'm probably a little bit more like I will date a stack. I want to marry a smoke.
Ooh, F, Marry, Kill. We could do that, but who would be the third person? We ain't got it in the movie. But Smoke, absolutely marry. Stack is absolutely a good time. Period. Okay. I think it's so funny in these Ryan Coogler films, especially with Michael B. Jordan in it. In Black Panther, it was like, hello, auntie. But when Hogwood shows up, he was like, y'all twins or something? He was like,
Nah, we
nah,
cousins.
we cousins. But again, Michael did such a great job, and then I just love this introduction to these twins, and like the contrast of the blue and the red,
Mm-hmm.
and then Stack is the one that's laid back with the with the extra swag or the aura, and then you got Smoke who stands on business. Okay, one thing that I realized very quickly about Smoke too, there was literally no time of real hesitation when it came to him in that gun. No hesitation, and we'll get into it as we talk more about this recap, but
He's a soldier. What do you expect?
that's
I
for
want a
sure.
soldier.
They bought this building. They made it clear they don't want no strings attached. They don't want their clan buddies coming around or they gonna be killing them. That was not a threat. It was a promise. Pretty much with this movie, I feel like the first half is like the gathering of the Avengers, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
They pick up their little cousin Sammy. They find their other truck where the goodies are. Because Hogwood took too much time, they're trying to get the juke joint. They wanted to get it done the same day. They wanted to have time to prepare. So they split. It was so funny because in my mind, I was like, oh no, they split. But then I was like, writing and filming, that's smart because you do have one lead playing two roles
And also, it fills the time and gives us a chance to see them in their
individually.
element.
Yes, yes,
Part of
yes.
this was giving me Color Purple vibes. I don't know if you were ever feeling that throughout, but like particularly the juke joint, I was like, this is feeling like Color Purple a bit to
Like
me.
opening up one.
Well, yes, like the scenes in the Color Purple, especially the latest
Yes.
adaptation where we're
Right.
in the juke joint on the water, it was
Yeah.
giving me vibes.
Well, if you could say that even with the religious aspect too, right? You
Yeah.
have Suge Avery, who is the prodigal daughter from a preacher man,
Yep.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what I love about this movie so much is like so much of our culture is just woven effortlessly in the plot of this film and the language of this film, especially around what was really going on during those times. So when Sammy and Stack were on their way to the train station to pick up Delta Slim, he was like, oh, y'all were in Chicago. I heard there was like, that's the best place to be or whatever. I'm sorry. Sammy was still with both of the twins at this time. And I think it was Smoke. He was like, it's just Chicago ain't nothing but tall buildings, no plantations, but more of the same, just different, just a different environment. And it really spoke to the Great Migration, right? That happened, African Americans fleeing the South during Jim Crow because they were killing us and trying to find a better life in northern states because there were those industrial jobs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Smoking Stack, they were gangsters, but yeah.
Yes, they were criminals, but they spoke to essentially loosely of what the plight of Black America was at that time.
Yeah, I'm not negating it at all. I'm just saying they found different horizons. That's for sure.
So Smoke makes his way into town. Again, what I love about this film and where you shocked about it is there were Chinese people in the South. Everybody likes to always talk about black and white, but there were other people who migrated there. And honestly, Asian people have been part of American soil since forever as well, especially around the time the train expansions and all that type of stuff.
Yep.
They were part of the labor people. This country is always very interesting in that way. It's like you make it seem like there were only white people. I'm like, there's been all types of people here since forever. Like,
One could say there were different people here before the white people.
well, yeah,
If we want to get into some history.
exactly. So this scene actually hit harder the second time I watched it more than the first. Stag giving that little girl a lesson in negotiation and how it was giving a fatherly moment. And you realize why that's the case. And that's because him and Annie lost their baby.
Yeah. Yep. Special.
So special. But yeah, Smoke met Bo Chow and his wife Grace. He wanted some catfish and a sign. I knew something was up because the only color they had was red, Ashley.
Mm. You in danger. You in danger. I appreciate that we got some soft moments before the shit got real. That's what I appreciate.
I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
I respect that as well. Smug also made his way to his love, Annie. And again, their love goes deep, but their pain goes deep as well. And she's like, I ain't heard from you. I think this conversation around like faith and religion, she represents the hoodoo, side of things. And their dialogue, I thought, really drove home the point of like living in this world. He's like, I've been around the world. I ain't seen no ghosts. He's like, all I know, people want power and people get their power through money. And she was like, how you know I wasn't praying for you every day? And I
Yeah.
was like, whoo.
And that little talisman I gave you is protecting you.
Protecting you. I thought that was well said. Stack, who looks like he's a walking bad decision, ran into the last girl he probably ever loved, Mary, at the train station. One of the most entertaining thing about Haley's character is Mary had a mouth on her. Did you have a favorite Mary line?
I'm not gonna be able to quote it, but it was definitely the, putting
You
your
effed me so
tongue
hard.
and da da da. I was like, girl, we in public. One could say though, she had a mouth on her because she was privileged. One could say.
It's so interesting that you say that. It was the mental Olympics trying to figure out what and who she was in this movie, because she was like, my mama took y'all in and she took care of you and you left me. And I'm like, so who's black? Like,
Exactly.
that was my question. And we found out that her grandfather was black,
Just
or
like
half
in
black,
real life. Just like
like in real life.
Steinfeld's real grandfather was a black
Is
man.
half black, yes,
Haley.
and Asian.
Haley, not Hallie. Haley.
And so that makes her mom a quarter black. And I'm not going to do the math for her, but what I'm trying to say, I love that she didn't shy away from it, because so many people in Hollywood would have not acknowledged it, frankly. There's a lot when it comes to family dynamics. We find out that Smoke killed their father because he was beating Stack. And I was like, what? And then I think this says a lot about Stack's character when he's telling this to Sammy. He was like, he beat me the most, but he didn't mean it. Do you think that shows a level of empathy that Stack has? Like,
or brain damage.
Whew, child. But he said it with the straightest face. I'm like, sir, what do you mean?
I mean, I definitely think it was supposed to be telling to the difference in their temperaments, right? That's for sure. But I also, like one could say that Stack is very emotionally wounded, and Smoke was his protector. And so they've continued to kind of play those roles to an extent throughout their lives. Like, they both obviously are gangsters and can take care of themselves, but I think Smoke is Stack's protector, and we see that in different iterations throughout this movie. And that started with that paternal relationship and the damage that was done because of that. Like, Stack thankfully didn't lose his spirit, but he was definitely damaged by it.
What was your first impression of Delta Slim?
I mean, seeing Delroy Lindo play this role felt very Delroy Lindo. I don't know how else to say it, but
yes.
Like him playing, music at the train station and him being a drunk and all these things, like it felt like an extension of other versions of him we've seen. But there was added complexity because of the era this is in and the pain that accompanied this character development. Like that scene in the car.
Girl.
Where all he can do is start humming.
Girl. To me, that was one of the most powerful moments in the entire film.
Absolutely.
Because to me, it speaks to how our people as a whole have relied on music.
Absolutely.
The rhythm, the blues, the gospel to be able to make it.
Absolutely. And again, the everybody has their vices to cope with the things that we go through in life. And he leaned heavily on his, but it didn't rob him of the gift that he obviously
Yes.
had. And that was still nice, that he was still able to perform musically and join them and do what he needed to do. But again, everybody in this movie has dealt with some level of like suffering and pain, unfortunately, as a running theme that will continue once we get into the darker parts.
We make it to Club Juke. Smoke got Annie making the catfish,
Ooh,
the
catfish sounds
chows.
so good.
I know, right?
Especially from the South. Come through with some
Listen,
catfish. Lord
listen.
Jesus.
Exactly. I didn't know you appreciated catfish. This
Oh,
makes me happy.
absolutely. If there's one thing you can always count on, I love me some soul food. Okay. To the death. Cholesterol be damned. Give me that fried food.
Things are on its way. We have the red signs. We got the musical acts in Delta Slim, Sammy, Perlene, and Mary made her way down to
Good
the
old
event as
Mary.
well. But while things are on its way for a night that they will not forget, we randomly see Native Americans. We see them running towards this shack house, which has like literally three like vultures or ravens flying overhead. Did you see that? Did you notice that
I
detail?
didn't.
Because the sun was setting and they were tracking this vampire. When I tell you, it brought me much joy to see Native people in this movie because again, they been here. Like you know what I mean? But the representation of like their wisdom too when it comes to like,
Yeah.
hey, there is something that's around here that y'all need to be aware of, but those white people in that shack were so blinded by their hate.
Ah, I needed so much more of an expansion on this whole story with the Native Americans. Like, I need them to have their whole own version, portion of this
I want to
to
see
dive into.
etches
Because
in
how do y'all
stones.
know what's been going on? What
Yes.
happened right before this that he's by himself and needing to find
Yes.
shelter? What have y'all been doing? Like, is
And
this the Native American vampire hunters?
right. Are they the Van Helsing?
Cause come through. Y'all my ancestors too. Come through.
Period. Period. When I tell you that was my biggest takeaway, I was like, I wanted so much more from them as well. Like, I want to know, like, it would have been so good. But you know what I also appreciate about their role in this movie is they showed up, they warned them, they didn't listen because of their hate, and they were like, all right, deuces. And to me, that also spoke volumes as well. Because it's like,
Yeah.
this is the bed, and you're going to lay in it.
Yeah. We ain't playing no games out here. We know the deal. The only thing I wish is I wish this hadn't been wasted on these dummies. Like go
I
find
know.
Michael B and them.
We're smoking
That's
stack.
who we need to go warn.
They needed warning.
So many people, what's funny is during like Instagram commentary afterwards, so many people are like, I didn't realize this was like an hour into the movie. Like I thought this
Girl,
was like the first scene that happened. It was like, no, we really had a warm up to this. This was the site of shit's about to start popping off
it really
when the
does. And for
sun goes
me,
down.
when the sun goes down,
Ooh, it's giving me
um,
chills. Ooh,
what I will say is, but I love this movie so much and it's so engaging that you don't feel the 2 hours. You know what I mean? And in that way, because there's so much story and it's very immersive. It's a very immersive experience, in my personal opinion.
yeah.
The night begins. Delta Slim starts off on the piano. Then Sammy performs. Ashley, this is honestly one of the most iconic scenes in the entire film with how it was shot, with what it represented, with the representation of the past, present, and future. Did you enjoy this scene or did it take away from your viewing experience.
Not at all. I didn't understand that. Like, it didn't take me out of the film whatsoever. I found it fascinating because I'm like, wow, Michael. Wow, preacher boy. Wow, like everybody involved in like the vision Ryan Coogler had to, like we are film lovers. So
Yes.
I'm not just watching this just like I'm thinking like what happened behind the scenes? What was the reason to tell it in this way? The shoot of it had to be fantastic in order to
Yes.
get all of this captured. Like I was fascinated by it and what it was saying about the incorporation of music that was beyond just Sammy having a good voice, you know what I mean? And just
Yes.
performing on stage like he is calling upon the ancestors.
Yes. And honestly, music is very important. Frequency matters when it comes to, I'm telling all the secrets. But like it matters when it comes to everything from praise and worship to bringing in good vibes to bringing in dark vibes too. You got to be mindful. Like it was so funny because even for music that doesn't necessarily have, vocals to it, I'm like, what were the person's intentions in making this? Because it stays, it matters. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Seeps into
It
your soul. Music
yes,
seeps
yes,
into your
yes, yes,
soul.
yes, yes. Exactly.
And there are very
Exactly.
spiritual, biblical
Yes. Yes,
connotations
yes.
to music.
It is. And that's why it's so powerful.
Yep.
So powerful. And his daddy warned him, though. You know what I mean? Because
The
the
preacher
preacher
man warned
man.
them.
And I say that because the vamps came a knocking. Remick was like, oh, this is the key to the portal I need to get to get back to my roots.
Because
So
he's Irish.
he's Irish and he's also ancient. It was so interesting because they just made very subtle hints on how ancient he is. I think one of the most notable was the coins that they gave Mary. They were old gold coins. We know Mary's passing, right? And she lives in her privilege, I think, to the fullest because she walks in and out of places like she owns it.
Yes, ma'am.
She finds out from Stack that they ain't making money because this is about to break my heart. These plantation owners aren't paying the black workers. They're paying them on IOUs on credit. How gross is that?
Yeah.
How gross is that? And unfortunately, if you talk to some farmers today, black farmers that is, they've been playing these same type of games to this day.
We talked about it for the Dame Black Film Festival when we watched Seeds
Seeds.
by
Yes.
Brittany
Brittany
Shine.
Shine. Yep. And how even though our own government didn't give money to black farmers. It's so funny. I saw a video recently on social media where a current black farmer was like, y'all need to stop whining. He's like, y'all been getting money from the government for years. And he's like, the reason why we're not crying is because we never got those subsidies.
Right.
Crazy. And so Mary was like, let me be an ally. Let me talk to these white folks. They seem nice. They
She was
seem
tripping.
nice. Let me see if they got some real money.
This was a different era because you should never be going out in the thick of the night
Period.
to meet up with some strangers.
You do not know,
Mary, where
especially
were your
white
instincts?
strangers in the deep South.
Where were your
Like,
instincts, baby?
again, the way our culture is just automatically seeped into this dialogue, Smoke was asking all the right questions. Were they by themselves? Were there a track of people not far away? We know the clan is strong in this environment. We're not playing these games, right? Like, but Mary's like, I got this. Unfortunately, her good intentions did not go well because she got Ashley.
Yeah.
Again, when I think about Smoke and Stack's choices of women, it's giving soul food versus junk food. I'm not saying Mary's junk food, but
I'm about to say, damn.
she didn't have the wisdom okay, that Annie brought to the table.
That's for damn sure. That's for damn sure. That's very, very fair. But they had a sisterly like bond. I mean, she
They
loved
did.
Mary.
Yes. I'm
But
not saying they didn't
for
like each
sure,
other,
there
but
was a
I'm just
spirit and earthiness to Annie that, Mary can't touch.
no. And she was also younger, so maybe that played a role as well. But I just think it's interesting that the woman that he's been running away from was ultimately his downfall.
Oof. Oh, this is one of those visceral scenes that I was super emotional, like watching it because nothing can prepare you for it. Like
No,
and
no,
nothing could prepare you for again, Michael B. Jordan's playing twins, but Smoke's reaction to what's
yes,
happening to Stack, I'm like, I am emotionally unprepared for this
unwell
level
because
of devastation.
this man has been protecting his brother his entire life. He
It's
killed
giving
his
me
own
like,
father for
uh,
this man, and to lose him like this,
Uh, and my thing, and we'll get to it, but my thing inevitably became, why does she have to do it like this?
she told him, this is one of the lines, Ashley. So you can steal chains and banks, but you can't steal this pussy.
What Ryan Coogler and them was doing during the first table read, like they had to be cackling. Like they had to be cackling.
When she said the first time, she's like, "You look my crew so hard, and you f me." I
Girl,
forgot. I
I
was like,
tried to re-say it after the theater. I couldn't even get it out. I was like, and I'm a potty mouth. I can't even repeat this with a straight face.
"Oh my gosh!" And he wakes up. And Parlene was like, "Wait, what he doing in that room or something like that?" And they were like, "He's supposed to be dead." Knocking on
Ooh,
the door.
freaked me out.
What I loved about that scene, though, even though it was devastating, I loved the crescendo of that scene because Parlene was singing Pale, Pale Moon. And it was like, a cadence, a heartbeat to that song. And it just got louder and louder. Because at first, Sammy saw them and he was like, "Oh, they having a moment." And then the second time, Smoke was like, "I don't give a fuck." Like, get him out here right now. And he walked in and saw Mary take him out like that. It's just really good movie making. So Smoke is heartbroken, as he should be. He lost an entire twin. Twin, where have you been?
Nobody knows me like you do. Nobody gonna love me quite like you. Yeah. Okay, I'm done.
That's a hit, though. That's a hit.
Imagine if that had started playing at that moment. Now that would have taken me out of the movie.
Boom! Boom! It was so funny because Annie was about that business. She's like, "I'm going to need for you to move the body outside." "What do you mean by this, my brother?" "Yeah. But we think he's a haint." And then when he got up, busted through that door, and she threw that pickled garlic juice in his face, she was like, "Oh no, this is a vampire."
Yeah.
So let's talk about vamp, shall we? We love a good vampire. What's some of your favorite vampire lore? And did they do any of it in this film that you enjoyed?
Well, this was one of the biggest things that I went on and on about after I watched it the first time was traditional vampire lore and some of the additives to it in this, like this whole hive mind that came with vampires in this film. That
Yes.
is not the norm
Yeah, that's a good point.
in
That is very
vampire
new.
lore. You know what I mean? So thought that was interesting. And then also the fact that traditionally it is an effort to turn someone into a vampire. We just talked about this with Interview with the
Yes.
Vampire. And in this, biting them one time,
One time.
killing them, they switch. And that
It's
is
so
not the norm either.
well said. Because, like, with True Blood, you had it was like vampires either could bite you to eat you or they can bite you
To turn
and
you.
then to turn you, and then they had to bury you,
Yeah.
and then
It's
you
a
had to
whole
wait
thing.
so many hours, and then you wake up the next day really hungry, and then you get your first feed.
It's a whole thing. It always is a whole thing. And people, a lot
Yeah.
of times, some vampires can do it successfully, others can't. We saw that in Interview with the Vampire. Like
Yes.
it varies, but traditionally it is an effort. It is not something that just happens. Now, obviously, for the sake of this movie, it's the pacing that we need to just be able to go ahead and get it done, and it adds to the suspense. But those were
Yes.
two things that I thought were interesting. What is more traditional, obviously, is that there are things that can take them out, right? Like there's
Yes.
protective
The steak, the wooden
measures.
stakes, the
Yeah,
garlic.
garlic, yes, that we can do to try to stop
Yes.
them from coming to get us. But one additional thing that the reason why I said I don't feel like Mary had to do it the way she did it is they're not just these mindless, blood sucking, bloodthirsty creatures.
Right.
They are still thinking, feeling, fully
Yes.
conscious and aware, because we see that even in when Stat comes back, and his motivation and his mindset is like, ugh, y'all are so small minded, da da da. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's still that essence of who he is. So
Yes.
that's what pissed me off when I realized. I said, Mary, why did you kill him like that? Like that was your
Right.
man. Maybe it was
Right.
like revenge a little bit and anger at the moment. Cause I was like,
Mm.
otherwise you could have done this way gentler than how you went about it. Because you're not just this bloodthirsty, psychotic thing that's been created. You're not a zombie. You know what I mean? Like you still
Right.
had your mental abilities. So that pissed me off actually once I realized that.
Yeah. I think what was also interesting about this movie and representation of vampires, it was more gory than some of
Yo,
the vampire
yeah.
movies in the past. And they didn't focus so much on the neck. Like the neck
Anywhere
mattered,
could get it.
anywhere could
Anywhere
get it.
could
Because
get it.
even with Mary, because I remember in my rewatch when she shows up and she's all perky and she asks to come in, which is a thing that did exist.
That's the norm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, she wore a very revealing dress. I'm like, where's the blood? Right? Like, where is it? But then you realize when she
Back of
was
the
making
neck.
out, it was on her back.
Yep.
And then the other piece that I thought was interesting, and I think one of the last times we talked about it, is the fact that Remnant could fly.
Yes.
And the last time we saw that was with Lestat
Mm-hmm.
in Interview with the Vampire, specifically the AMC series. So yeah, and to your point, how quickly these vampires are able to make new ones is
Scary.
it was kind of crazy.
It's more zombie like. I mean, that's very much zombie lore to
Yeah,
me.
that's a great point. Well, that's what I also want to talk to you about, Ashley. To be fair, Smoke wasn't thinking, he just lost his twin. But the way they canceled everything at the juke joint and told everyone to leave,
Yep.
I don't think that was the strategy.
Yeah. I don't think they realized just how dangerous things had become that quickly. Like I think to an extent you see it as like I'm saving y'all cuz just scatter and get out of here, but y'all realize outside is where the
The threat
monsters
is
live.
outside.
You
That's
know
where
what I
they are.
mean? Like they're
Yes.
outside. So like when the Asian lady told her husband like, "Yo, this ain't our problem. Let's get the fuck up out of here."
Yep.
She ain't know she was sending that man to his death. God bless. Thought
And
she was doing
so
something.
she thought she was doing something. And because of that, it created so many more vampires
Hmm.
than we needed, Ashley. And so multiple things happened. Okay. And it was like, we need to prepare. Shout out to Scar. So they started making their steaks. They had to test to make sure that the people in their midst aren't vamps. And so everyone had to eat garlic. Perlane, sis, what do you mean
Now's
you
not
don't
the
like
time.
garlic?
Now's not the time. Shut up.
I need for you to read the freaking room.
In a
Okay.
life or death situation, shut up.
I'm going to eat a clove of garlic.
And especially like who says shit like that when there's like vampires popping out of rooms? Like, what are you talking about?
Crazy to me. Crazy. And then, of course, Delta Slim. Oh, I drank too much, sir. Are you about to turn or what? Oh, but Grace.
Punch her in the throat.
Oh my. She started losing her sugar iced tea because she realized her husband got. And Remnant is out here threatening her child in freaking Mandarin. Like, ma'am, I understand, you wanting to protect your daughter. But if she's in the house, she's technically safe. And he's all the way over here. You know what I mean? Well, he still flies, but his focus obviously is on Sammy. So
But
you putting
also,
everybody,
you go ahead and take your ass on outside. You know what I'm
if
saying?
you really want to go, if
If it's
you
that real, take
truly
your
want to
ass on
go,
outside.
because that was the ultimate plan. Get your weapons up, stay inside until daylight. That was the original plan.
I will never forgive her.
What she did was unforgivable. And she did all that just to only kill one vampire
And then
because she got
burn alive.
getting burned. I was like,
Awful.
this was such a waste. At least go. I guess she went out in a blaze of glory.
She went
I
out
don't
like a
know.
fucking fool.
Idiot. This fight, again, I was like, there are way more of them than it is the people in this building.
They prolonged it because it would have been 2 seconds in reality based on
Easy.
the number of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I understand Smoke is a good fighter, but he ain't that good.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. No. They would have all been taken out in reality. But it's the film.
It's the film. Stack takes out Annie. Now, this is where I feel like I felt even harder just because at this rate, he lost his baby, he lost his twin, and his dead twin just took out his girl. And she said, "You promised me."
Kill me now.
She's like, "Don't get my soul trapped."
In this version of vampires, I wouldn't want to do this either. Because again, I don't like this whole hive mind thing. It was very creepy to me to be like stuck in the same
Because
mental space as all
they
these
know
other.
everyone's memories too.
Exactly. And this white, I'm in the control of this white man? Uh-uh. Kill me now.
Delta Slim makes the ultimate sacrifice. Like, all right, y'all go up. I'm gonna give my forearms for
He
the
the complete
cause.
opposite of Grace.
Complete. Again, I appreciate the humanity Delroy brought to his character because
Mhm.
again, it's so easy to just write someone off with an addiction like that. But again, that man lived and seen some things, and that's all he knew. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They didn't outsmart the main one because he they opened up the door on the top and the old dude was like, "Sammy."
He played such a good Remick. I can't imagine anybody else playing that part. He was really like both charming and terrifying.
Yeah, he was. But part of me was like, is this charm, manipulation to lure people
Absolutely.
in so he
He's a
can,
vampire.
yeah.
Absolutely. They are predators.
I feel like the more he fed, though, the uglier he got as well. You know what I mean?
And the later it got, you'd seeing his true nature. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. There was this epic fight between the twins, Ashley, and we didn't quite see how it ended. And I'll get to that in a minute. But when Sammy was out back outside in the pond, I don't think it was a lake, but it was like a pond area.
Mm-hmm.
I almost thought that he was turning that water into holy water because that was one of the things
Mm.
that Annie mentioned that they needed to kill a vampire.
Wow, that
But
would have been
then
interesting.
when Remnick started saying the same prayer, he was like, I know this too, because this is what essentially the colonizers did to my motherland, Ireland. You know
So
what I
deep.
mean?
It goes so deep.
So deep. Of course, Smoke is the one who saves the day. That scene of Smoke holding Sammy in that water, looking at that tornado fire, to me will go. I bet you they're going to use it in the Oscar montage. Like it is
Yep.
just it's a visual. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep. Yep. And I didn't think going into it, I didn't think anybody survived but Sammy. So I was so happy at that moment to see that Smoke survived that night, you know?
That's a great point. It's worth mentioning that Smoke also survived because of the bag that Annie
Mm-hmm.
made him.
Mm-hmm.
The prayers of his woman. I want to talk about the relationship really quick, Ashley. What I loved most is that in a crisis, he respected his woman's voice.
Yeah.
I say that because sometimes in culture, or even if you listen to the internet long enough, it's like, alpha man, man. Man makes decisions. Man leads. Man. Smoke is the ultimate alpha man. And still was like, that's my woman. What she says goes.
Yeah. Well, she was also wiser and more knowledgeable about this
But he wasn't
situation.
intimidated by that.
Yeah. No. Because he's secure in who he is and what
Oh, how about
his
that? How about
gifts
that?
are. So he doesn't have to feel some type of way about her being in her power.
Overcompensate. Because kings love their queens, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen any one black man on cinema, TV, anywhere that went as hard as Smoke on white evil folks
Mm,
than the end of this movie.
mm.
Remnick told him at that crazy night that Hogswood was the freaking Grand Dragon
Grand
when he was
Wizard.
lying,
Grand
Grand
Wizard
Wizard,
of the
when he
KKK.
said that, because that was one of his lines. He was like, "Oh, the clan don't exist no more, and you mother effer is you're the Grand Wizard." And they came ready to kill those black folks, and Smoke was like, "Not today,
Mm.
not on my watch."
This is a hard scene for me in the sense that I didn't want him to go out this way. I get that he no longer cared because he had lost his attachment to this world with the
Yeah,
loss of the people he loved. But I just wish they would have let him go out some other way. Because y'all don't deserve this. Y'all don't deserve this life, in my opinion. But I had to
nope,
let it go and just know that he was ready to be at peace with his family.
that's real. Like him seeing Annie and their baby. Oh, tears. It reminds me of Braveheart
Mm.
when he sees his wife walking in that crowd and he just screams freedom. Fuck Mel Gibson. But that movie, watched it entirely too young, Ashley. But when I tell you that was cinema, back to Smoke literally smoking everyone's asses in the scene. I ain't never seen a black man on screen go this hard since Django Unchained. And that was a movie written by a white man. I was shocked. I was like, they let y'all do this?
Had to be done.
Sammy goes to church. His father asks him to drop the guitar. Sammy was like, nah, and decides to be a musician. One of the conversations that happened before the shit hits the fan was Smoke essentially telling Sammy, I will kill you. He's like, I don't know no happy musicians. This is your last day at a juke joint. Okay. You need a better life. Go somewhere, go to the bayou where we were trying to go, but they didn't have us because they knew our daddy and they were like, oh, this is a spawn of an evil man. You know what I mean? But Sammy also told him, like, you ain't got nothing to say about my life. Like, let me do me. What do you think about Sammy's choice?
I think it was the right choice for him, especially after everything he had seen, everything he had experienced. He needed to do absolutely was what was going to be best, like for himself. I have no judgment. I would have had no judgment either way. You know, he's been through enough. Live your best life.
Truly, truly. Well, Sammy absolutely did live his best life, becoming a legendary guitar player, blues singer. And one night in the 90s, guess who popping through the door?
I didn't know which way this was gonna go.
Stack and Mary. I was gagged the first time I saw this.
You know, we're
And then
about to see a ton of interracial couples in this costume.
they were cute though.
They were.
They
They
were so
were.
cute.
But I didn't know which way this was going to go when they walked through that door.
You think they were gonna get him one good time?
I thought so. I was like, we coming back to get revenge after all these years? But it wasn't.
What?
It was lovely.
Yeah. Were you disappointed in Smoke's decision to keep Stack alive?
It
Or was
wasn't
this on par?
surprising. It wasn't surprising. And the silver lining that I've talked about subsequently is that if anybody got to survive it's nice that it was these two and they were able to live into the future when their love was not taboo, when they
Hmm.
could
Be
be
with each
together.
other. Yeah. No, that's a great point. Did you have a favorite song?
I can't say I had a favorite song. All the songs felt very powerful and meaningful in the moments they were in. Even that final scene that you see at the very, very end with Sammy singing, and it was the start of the day.
Yeah.
Um, it all had its place. So
Did you have any MVPs for this film?
I'd say Annie is the MVP of this film.
Annie. Annie is mine with an honorable mention for Cornbread.
I feel so bad for Cornbread's wife because poor thing
Yes,
would have never known what happened to her husband.
girl, exactly. And he was already busy trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, they came and got him out of them cornfields to come work.
Cotton.
And she was like, oh, yeah, I said cornfields. They came and got him out of those cotton fields. And his poor wife the next day had lost her husband.
Yeah, I was like, man, this is really one of those movies where like nobody makes.
Yeah, massacre.
Yep. Do you think this film ambition when it comes to the blending of the genres paid off, or do you feel like it was doing too much?
No, it definitely wasn't doing too much. I don't even feel like it was like overly ambitious. I think it didn't feel like convoluted in any way to me. It made a lot of sense. I think narratively it felt necessary, like everything felt necessary. And yes, it was very immersive and involved, but not overly so. I was never like, I don't understand that decision. I never had those type of moments in this movie.
Yeah. For me, when they were describing it initially, they were like, this unnamed Ryan Coogler project with Michael B. Jordan is, Jim Crow South with vampires and blues. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, what are you talking about? And again, I've talked about this multiple times on the podcast. When random things that shouldn't happen come together and make sense, it's magic. Like, what do you mean story about America's forefathers, story through hip hop with black and brown cast? Like, that sounds like garbage, but it's one of the best things ever. That is Hamilton. Like, K-pop Demon Hunters. What do you mean K-pop band group and Demon Hunters? And the soundtrack is literally one of the biggest movie soundtracks of all time. Like, it should not make Sinner should not make sense, but it does. And I really loved it, and I had a great time. Ashley, what are your final thoughts on Sinners?
I can't wait to see what these people do next. I just the output only continues to get better. I don't know where we can go from here, but I am thrilled to be along for the ride.
Absolutely. One of the most random fun fact about this film was that Ryan Coogler proves that you can find inspiration in literally everything. And he said the inspiration between the vampire's eyes with the glow came from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish movie.
Yes, I remember hearing that on the press tour.
I was like,
So
what?
funny.
What? Because he wanted to be able to, show and illuminate, the difference between the eyes and things. And I there's so many fun, fabulous facts about this movie that I'm sure we'll even hear even more because it will make an Oscar run.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rooting for Michael B. Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I'd
Rooting
love
for
to
Ryan
see
Coogler,
Ryan Coogler, girl, original screenplay, best
best director.
director, best picture. Thank you.
Hannah for best production design. Rue for best
Yes. Oh, we
costumes.
got some tea from when we saw Hannah, the costumes by great Ruth E. Carter. They were supposed to be for Blade.
Mm-hmm. There was actually
And
somebody in the audience who knew that. And the people in front of us were like, what kind of question is that? And she was like, that's a great question.
yeah, I
That's
thought it was random. I'm like, how do you know?
Listen, that's some insider knowledge he dropped.
They've already won some Astra Awards. It was the eighth annual this year. It happened during the springtime. And yeah, it was nominated for 7 awards and they won 6. So Michael B. Jordan won for Best Actor, Best Picture was Sinners, Best Director was Ryan Coogler, Best Supporting Actress was Haley. So yeah, Best Screenplay. So they deserve it, period. So that's all I have for us today, Ashley. What do you have for Hidden Gems?
I do not have any hidden gems this week. Hopefully I'll have some things next week. We'll see. I've just started watching the 3rd season of Loot, which is exciting. Watching the morning show, so there are some recurring things I'm watching, but nothing new to surprise you guys with just yet. But we'll see. What about you, Delora?
I wanted to bring up my favorite Dracula movie that I watch every year. And this is the Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is the one that came out in 1992, where Keanu and Wyona ended up being married somehow off behind the scenes. But anyway, this is Gary Oldman's Dracula. I don't know what it is about this movie, but I thoroughly enjoy it and I watch it every spooky season. And I also want to give a book recommendation. I just finished, or should I say, this book finished me, Alchemized. It is written by SenLinYu. It was originally a fanfic. Shout out to Ashley. If y'all listened to the episode last week, you know what I mean. Of Hermione and the white hair boy from Harry Potter, Draco. So they call it a Hermione fanfic. There's a lot of that in the book world. And it was originally called Manacled. And so she rewrote it, called it Alchemized. Apparently it's different because this is released through a traditional publisher. As y'all know, I'm a audiobook girly. This book is 36 hours long. And I finished it and I cried. I love a good fantasy moment. I love elements of romance, but this movie was a war book. I think it is getting optioned for either TV or film. So that should be interesting. But there were very, very heavy themes. But I do think it was well written because I was invested. And like I said, I don't know if the tears came out of sadness, relief, like an exhale. I don't know, y'all, but it was something. And so that's what I have for us today, Ashley. You know what? I did forget one question. Please answer this question really quickly. What's your favorite vampire movie?
Probably at the moment it's going to be Queen of the Damned.
Ooh.
Which might be our final recap for the holiday.
Oh,
because I am obsessed with Aaliyah in that film. So Akasha did it for me big time. I mean, there's other honorable mentions of many vampire movies that I enjoy and series, obviously, but my girl Aaliyah shut it down.
I love Aaliyah and I appreciate her in the role, but I did not enjoy that movie. So it should be interesting if you decide to do it, how I feel rewatching it.
Stuart Townsend.
Yeah. And I love to give an honorable mention to Vampire in Brooklyn. Because that movie was a lot scarier than what it should have been.
Yeah.
All right.
All good. Well, thank you very much, Laura. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you. Share your thoughts on Sinners for spooky season. Let us know if you've rewatched it, if you're planning to dive back into any other movies for Halloween. We'd love to know. We will be back with headlines and hot topics. But in the meantime, as always, be blessed.
Bye.